You guys are all frozen. I tried so hard to fix everything, and it's all on fire again. Well, it's okay. You guys introduce the show, and I will rummage in the background. Welcome, sir or madam. Yeah. They can hear us now.
Can they hear all of us?
We are back.
That's good. That's really good. The audio, be able to hear us all on the audio.
They can hear us all now. I'm sorry, you guys. We ran into some tech difficulties coming into the stream before we even brought it up. So first of all, I'm impressed that everybody's still here.
No, right?
They're used to this by now.
Second of all, welcome to another episode of Gamestack Podcast. Shaline, want to take it away?
Indeed. So, guys, before we get rolling into this, if you're watching us, if you're one of the live viewers in Twitch, please host the channel. Just give us a host. That helps us get our name out into the Twitch community. We really appreciate it. And if you are new and just joining us for the first time, give us a follow and set notifications so you can hang out with us every time we kick off this zany trash fire that we call Gamestack.
It really is a trash fire every time.
Every time.
Like, no matter... Okay, so here's a little bit of a backstory for you guys. I was home today. Like, I didn't go to work. And, I had a lot of time to prepare for this. And I spent a lot of time preparing for this. And it's still a trash fire.
Yeah, it always is. But that's okay, guys.
Those are the best kind, though, honestly.
They really are. They are the best.
I think that's why the people keep coming, because it has to be. You know?
Because we just handle it so well.
Yeah.
Well, it takes those expectations of professionalism that everyone tries to hold themselves to on YouTube or anywhere else, and just
throws them right out the door.
Throws them on the trash fire.
Mm-hmm.
And we just have a show that's informative, fun, goofy, and completely unpredictable.
Well, if you're joining us this evening, and you're new to the show, we welcome you. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Twitch channel. Please feel free to hit that follow button. We love it when we get more viewers, and you'll get notifications of when we go live in your inbox. And if for the rest of you who are already here and have already followed, feel free to hit that host button and share our channel with the rest of the Twitch community. That would be greatly helpful.
Already done did.
We like to open up these shows with a little thank you shout out to the people who leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. And this week we have 3 people who own this segment. Mind1555 says, the combination of great hosts, exciting content, and a whole lot of great puns makes Gamestack the ideal game of postcast. Yeah, that's...
Postcast.
I think
Postcast?
Postcast would be...
Postcast?
Postcast.
Maybe that was just a little typo there. Thank you, Mike.
Probably.
Your review. From Canada, Jesus22 says, so awesome to see you guys at it.
Jeez, it's...
back the old gameplay sound effect.
Yes.
I love that screen
Oh, wow.
name. I love that screen name.
I just picked it up.
Jeez, it's on rye.
That's really funny that the Lopez was the last one to pick that up.
Yeah. As soon as you said it, you're like, "Hey, Zeus 22." I'm like, "Oh, genius."
Mm-hmm.
From the UK, Kid Tick says, "Love this show. Loads of gaming news and stories with a hint of randomness to keep you laughing to yourself."
A hint.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words, everybody. It is perhaps more than a hint of randomness.
Yeah, I'd
So
Yeah.
how can people leave a 5-star review or shout out?
Just go to iTunes. You can do that on your PC, or you can go right in your podcast app on your phone and click the 5 stars, not the 4 stars
Mhm.
or the stars, only the 5 stars, and leave us a
2,
review.
5.
Tell us what you think of the podcast.
Yeah, we are not the best Western of podcasts. Okay, 5 stars. 5 stars, guys.
So we are, I know we're 15 minutes in. We are planning to bring you a podcast this week. It is a bit of a slow news week, but we do have a few choice morsels of news. And we've got some gameplay to chat about. Vendortron, I believe you had a prehistoric Valentine event.
Oh, yes. Dating dinos, I like to call it.
That's great. I never know what Rick is playing until the last minute, so I've just decided to make up his gameplay for the week. Rick is going to talk all about Panzer Models Tank Dating Simulator. And I spent the week singing gently with the animals in Fee. So, besides our gameplay, Vendortron, I think you have some plans to take it a little topical with your salty segment this week.
Yes, I do.
And we have emails from you, our lovely listeners, including a katana-wielding Barack Obama. So,
What?
can't wait to hear about that. Very excited. So let's start it off with the news. As always, big thank you to Joseph Tao for helping to compile the news in the form of emails that he sends us every week, so we don't miss anything. So Vendortron, I think you've been pretty excited about Kingdom Come Deliverance, right?
Well, I think we all have, wouldn't you say?
Well, you guys more than me, actually, but
I'm not. I wouldn't say that I'm exactly a fan of war type games, but I think what attracts me to the game is its open world concept, and I like Game of Thrones, and it feels like Game of Thrones. So
You love PUBG.
that would be an overstatement.
Well, okay, but okay. So I guess it's not technically war; it's more massacre. So I guess it fits.
Perhaps, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
indeed. Well, Kingdom Come Deliverance came out. It's getting some pretty interesting reviews, and Vendortron, you actually put this in here. Who is Fisk?
So Fisk is a fellow Twitch streamer who is in the community. He's watched our show a couple of times, and I noticed that he was on the other day and he was streaming it. And so I thought I would pop into his chat room and ask him about it, get a live interview while he was playing it. And I told him that we would talk about it on the show tonight. So,
Nice.
But he actually said that the graphics are really nice in this game, and you really get what you pay for as far as the storyline goes. He said it's filled with rich dialogue and has really been making him laugh. It's some of the dialogue is actually quite funny. He said the fighting is also pretty solid, and overall was what he expected it to be. So that's a pretty good review, and I actually watched him for an hour or so, and it looks like a really great game. So you guys can actually check out Fisk right here on Twitch at twitch.tv/FISK.
Indeed. But not right now. Wait till after the show.
Yes.
So I've also been watching some Twitch streams of Kingdom Come, and it looks like a really special game that I would never enjoy playing. Yeah.
Yeah, the graphics are beautiful. And actually, my wife, I was showing her the trailer. She said that would be a game she would love to just kind of walk around in. But again, the graphics are gorgeous, but it's the combat. It looks, the combat kind of looks like really plinky. Is that the right word? It kind of looks like
word.
You know what I mean, though? It doesn't look like it has any weight.
It does look a little clunky. And I think that, I mean, it looks like a really great game, but from watching it, I feel like it's not something we haven't seen before in terms of graphics and gameplay. And I think that's only because for me it really felt like Skyrim. Like even some of the dialogue and menu sounds were very similar to Skyrim. So
Yeah, it definitely did have that same feel, but the difference is that it's grounded in realism rather than in a fantasy world. I mean, what is it, Britannia that it's in?
it's I believe the map is actually built to scale. Is it not?
Was it Britain or
No, it's Bohemia.
oh,
Bohemia.
isn't that a place though
Uh-huh.
in old ye old Europe?
Yeah, during the
I thought so.
Crusades.
Yeah, I thought so. So yeah, I mean, it's based in real life. So that's, if you could take Skyrim and make it, real rather than dragon.
Mhm.
I would imagine it would be similar. Although again, with Skyrim, the combat had a weight to it, had a feel.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, I'll certainly say that I don't think I'll miss the alchemy part of Skyrim by playing
Not
Kingdom
enjoying
Come.
8,000 giants toes.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Don't
those
at
things
all.
were super detailed. You got to remember, we had an artist on here saying he even drew the underside of their feet.
I know.
Yeah, speaking of Jonah Loeb, he's actually going to be doing Fallout Feed this Sunday.
He actually wasn't on this
Very
show, so Jonah Loeb, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on a new podcast.
Semantics, nuances,
Indeed.
things that we just overlook.
But yeah, Jonah will be on Fallout Feed, so check him out there as well. So let's talk about Sea of Thieves, guys.
All right, what do we want to talk about with Sea of Thieves?
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to figure out why I'm
It's-
getting this terrible hum.
It's good news too. It's good news too. Why don't you take this one, Vendor? I have to keep
Sure.
moving.
All right, guys. Well, we all love Sea of Thieves, right? We're patiently anticipating its arrival to the market, and it is coming in March. We were a little bit uncertain about the news that we had received on the last show about how they were going to be having microtransactions. But we are assured now from Rare, they are saying that they will not be implementing loot crates in Sea of Thieves ever.
Wow,
And so ever. And so and this story comes out of Kit Guru by Daniel Mason. And he says that Sea of Thieves is just over a month away from release, and although the developer Rare will be helping its players simulate the life of a pirate, it's keen on keeping its own shady practices to a minimum. Which sounds terrible, but that's okay.
pretty funny.
He's probably referring to microtransactions. As such, while microtransactions are a possibility somewhere down the line, the more controversial loot crates are definitely not. And to quote Mike Chapman, who is the design director for Rare for Sea of Thieves, he says, "What I will confirm is there are no microtransactions for launch at all. But based on us continuing to build this game, we'll probably be considering some form of microtransaction in the future." But he also says that what he will say on the company's behalf is that there will never be any loot crates in the Sea of Thieves, and there will never be a form of gambling in Sea of Thieves, period, of any description. So personally, I think that's fantastic news.
Yeah, and I think microtransactions are a perfect way to keep a game that you buy once continuing on, and getting more content because you're
Exactly.
constantly paying for yay, I got my 5th eye patch, but it looks different, but I know what I'm buying. It's a skin. I'm cool with that.
Shoendi, our internet mom in chat, says never use absolutes, and I couldn't agree more.
Never say never ever.
He is making a promise that he may not be able to keep.
Because isn't Rare bought out by
Microsoft.
Yeah, so they're kind of at Microsoft. They're kind of at Microsoft's will, I guess. I don't know what their creative rights situation is, obviously, but
Well, I hope that he feels that he has that power to say never,
I hope
and
there's a
that
few
that's true.
I hope there's a few Banjo-Kazooie references too in that game, like you poop an egg or something.
Oh, there probably is.
I also wonder. I'm trying to think. Are there any? I'm sure there are, but are there any Microsoft AAA's that actually have loot crates in them?
Yeah, Halo 5 has loot crates.
What is it?
Those cards, like combat cards. I forget what they're called.
Oh, do you have to buy them with real money?
Yeah, it has microtransactions that you can buy for the
Okay.
player. So.
I didn't realize that had that.
I
in
think Gears 4 may have it too. I'm not sure. I didn't play much Gears 4.
there. I wonder if I played that one.
So, carrying on with the Sea of Thieves news, they've released the PC specs, and Sea of Thieves will run on a potato. Basically, you can run this at 540p 30 FPS with a very, very modest graphics card, 4 gigabytes of RAM. Yeah, you can. The setting is called Cursed, which I think is pretty fun.
It doesn't look like a very graphic intensive game.
No, but you can run it on a calculator, so that's pretty fantastic.
That's great.
Texas Instruments.
That's probably the setting I'll have to use.
Now, how do you think they were able to do that?
By making a game that looks like a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Really, though? I mean, wouldn't those take up just as much data?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, there's less polygons because, well, I don't know.
Okay, so the question I'm getting at is, are they using some sort of new technology in game design that allows them to do that?
Why? Because no,
This seems like a pretty big, like, open world thing, right?
There
No,
are
randomly
plenty of MMOs out there that you can run on very low specs, though. Most people, I don't know, but it's good news. It really opens up the possibility for people.
Oh, it's using Unreal, so that's completely scalable.
Yeah.
That technology's been out forever.
Mm-hmm.
You can also
So-
run it at 4K 60, so if that's your thing.
So it'll probably just look really ridiculous, but it'll run.
Indeed. So I thought that was pretty interesting news.
That is good
And,
news.
I will likely be running it on the lowest, terrible, sad setting when
I'm
it's
excited for our pirate ship.
going to be a good time.
I am very excited. I'm also excited to play Skull and Bones equally. But
Yeah,
yes.
I think I'm looking forward to that one, except for the fact it's Ubisoft. So
that one you can expect loot crates.
yeah, the flag is still down for me on that one.
Well,
So
Skull and Bones, whatever it may be.
Sea of Thieves may not be wanting to add loot crates, but they do plan to have microtransactions. It will launch without microtransactions, but around 3 months after release, there will be cosmetic microtransactions available. So, executive producer Joe Neat said, "Our focus at launch is on a great game experience. When we deliver this first major update, that's when we'll turn on the ability for players to spend money optionally. We thought long and hard about what's right for our game experience, and the key thing we think is that it has to add to the fun, social nature of this game. So anything in this area will not impact power or progression, and you'll always know what you're getting. So that means no."
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
good guy Sea of Thieves.
I mean, I guess I'm okay with that, but I'd frankly, I'd like to get a whole entire game. I would like that.
Well, but you got to understand, this is something they want to continually like update and make new things. So in order to keep the lights running, they've got to make content for the people who, like I always go back to Guild Wars 2. There are people who've owned that game since 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Bought it once, and now it's free. So like,
Did it release in alpha? Guild
What?
Wars? Guild Wars, was it released?
I think it was a private beta, but like what I mean is it keeps the lights on and the company able to produce bigger content. So that way, when DLC does come out, they can charge you $30 or $40 for like a whole 75% of a game, and then keep making more and more cosmetic things. I mean, it makes total sense to me in a realm of keeping developers and people that work at those places paid.
Yeah, that is a very, very valid point, and I never really looked at it that way. And I think, when I think about it, there's really two perspectives on that. You either take that sort of business model approach, or you do what they've done with Hellblade, and they release what seems like a AAA game, but actually is just a very shortened version of a very well-designed video game, which has probably made them a lot of money, but now they have the time to design something new.
Yeah, you
So-
do what they've been doing since the 80s. You make good standalone games, and then you
Mhm.
move on to the next one,
Mhm.
and you don't run it into the ground like Halo
Mm.
or Metal Gear, and you just, so yeah, I mean, there are good two philosophies in that camp, and when you go the route of microtransactions, it shouldn't be gambling,
Mhm.
it shouldn't be paying for power up and boosts. Like we all know, it should be cosmetic, and that way,
Mhm.
artists and audio guys like me can get paid.
Well, and I think that we're seeing this more and more. So, the question about whether or not the the gaming consumer has influence on the gaming industry, I think can really be sort of answered there. Because, a lot of companies are saying, oh, we're having microtransactions, but they're only superficial. It's only for aesthetics, right?
I believe Shaline disagrees with us because she's been looking away from the screen the entire time.
No, I'm still trying to diagnose this bug.
Oh.
I'm afraid it's going to be on the audio.
Well, I'm also recording audio, so we should be okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we have an audio editing expert on staff here at We Just Love Games. So,
I have no idea who you're talking about.
indeed. Gold have been announced for the month of March, and they're actually pretty good this month. I'm
Ah.
about it.
Oh.
1st through the 31st, you can get Trials of the Blood Dragon, which is a joy. This game is a delight. I loved it. So I've talked at length about my love for the Trials series.
Hmm.
And Rick, I think you played Far Cry Blood Dragon, right?
Like bits and pieces. I should have played it more than I did.
It's a pretty fun story with some fun, campy stuff. Well, Trials of the Blood Dragon is a marriage of Trials and Blood Dragon. So it's really great. It tells the story of these kids who are solving some hijinks, and it's very action movie-y, and there are some great Trials levels. I almost broke my controller, man, on some of these levels. There was this backpack level that I remember. I just oh man,
I think I remember you
played
playing
it until
this.
my hands hurt. But Trials of the Blood Dragon, I recommend. I have had much fun with that game. March 1st through the 15th, backwards compatible Brave, the video game. It's based on the cartoon. I'm not familiar with the cartoon, but
It's a cool girl with really crazy red hair that shoots bows and arrows.
I'm on board. Sounds good to me. March
Oh, that's good.
April 15th, we've got Super Hot, which we have talked about before. I don't think any of us have ever actually played it, have we?
Mm-mm.
No, good concept.
It looks pretty darn cool, and if you are an Xbox Gold member, you can get it for free. So,
Mm.
and the final game is another backwards compatible title, March 16th through 31st, Quantum Conundrum. Now, Quantum Conundrum is another very excellent game that I have played. It was made by the creator of Portal, and it's basically the same feeling. One of the voice actors is the guy who was Q in Star Trek: The Next Generation. So
You.
it is most enjoyable.
Interesting. Thank you, Joshy. I just adjusted my audio, so we're okay.
You're louder now.
Oh no, too loud, too loud.
You went the wrong way.
There, good.
I turned up my
That's
gain
better.
a bit. Maybe that helps.
There. He said I was -3, so I got it.
I
it's
moved
good.
my mic closer, so that should be the trick.
Death Stranding is the new project from Kojima. We've talked about at length.
This game.
Again, I believe there is no game. No game exists. It's just an excuse for Kojima to meet amazing people that he admires. And the current people are Troy Baker and Emily O'Brien.
Oh, there is no game.
Troy Baker has been in pretty much everything. He was Joel in Last of Us, notably. Let's see. He's been the Joker several times since Mark Hamill quit doing that. Very, very accomplished voice actor, so he will bring much talent to this project.
Very interesting.
Was in Days of Our Lives, I believe. and she's done extensive voice acting as well. She was in Dishonored, Death of the Outsider, the Telltale Batman series, some other things.
So let's say, for instance, that there is no game. What exactly would he have accomplished other than a completely ridiculous commentary on gaming reporting as a whole? Like, what would that accomplish?
He's made several moderately ambitious short films.
Oh no.
He also got Norman Reedus naked.
Yes, and that is not a small thing.
Did we just? That's what Kojima said.
Oh
Did we
no.
freeze again?
Oh no, we
froze
did
again?
freeze. Yeah.
Why do we freeze at the stupidest smirks?
Hold on. I will fix you guys.
Yeah,
I
I
will
look
fix you guys.
Fantastic, Rick. I don't know.
Yes, you do.
Oh.
I just look
I look
like a dirt.
really
It's
nice.
because I derped with the window capture with
Oh.
the desktop. So I'll just add you guys in again.
So yeah, Death Stranding, the game that is not there.
I don't believe any game exists. I'm yeah. I'll have to see it before I'll ever believe it.
So
I am following the project with great interest.
I'm gonna kind of brag about my internet real quick. We were talking about Blood Dragons. I was like, I'll start the download real quick so I can play it when we're done here. It's done.
Wow.
Wow. Hey, I also have some good news for this, and this is good news for the podcast as well.
Good news, everyone.
So my dad finally got an Android. He got a smartphone. And so this is just I'm building up to it, guys. I'm building up to it.
Wondering where we're going with this.
So he finally gets a smartphone, super excited, because this is a guy that they were sending him letters telling him that you know, the phone that he has is no longer going to be supported, and they're tearing down the tower, and like it's time for him to change. Anyways, so we found out that we've been using internet that is like outdated from like 2011, and they've installed new optic cables in my neighborhood, and now our download and upload speed is going to be like 75 megabytes per second.
Oh wow, that's great.
Usually the dial-up sound vendor was kind of a dead giveaway
Yeah.
that you had old internet.
Yeah. So anyways, that's
I love your anecdotes because you're like, guys, I got this anecdote. So let's start 3 years ago. This one thing happened, and then we go for it. I love your Tarantino-esque anecdotes.
yeah. Well, good. I'm glad that you
That's
glad
not
that
a
you do.
sarcastic. That is not a sarcastic thing. I am being genuine.
Tell us. Yes, you're absolutely right, Joshy. Oh my god, are you like here?
His head pops up behind your chair. Hello.
Let's go ahead and close out the news, gentlemen.
mhm.
Our final story is that there is a Game of Thrones mobile free-to-play game, and it might not be terrible. So it is being made by Behavior Interactive, who did work on Fallout Shelter, and who also are currently working on the Assassin's Creed mobile game, which looks pretty great. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that.
Shaline, I'd just like to interrupt you and just say a big shout out to Fran, who just showed up in our chat room. Fran is here.
He's a good fan of ours.
She.
Whatever.
Good job, Rick.
Oh, man.
I
welcome
have a
to the
reverse
show.
Yeah, good to be friend. So, guys, it will be a free-to-play mobile game. That's all we know. I'm looking forward to it. I enjoyed Fallout Shelter very much. You guys know that, much to your own chagrin.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to the Assassin's Creed game. I think it looks fabulous. So, yeah, let's.
So
Wait.
two things. I love the fact that the three of us, mainly Shaline. And by the way, if I'm stepping on your toes, Shaline, I'm sorry. When you're ending a sentence, your audio kind of trails off, and I can't tell exactly when you end. So I apologize if I'm stepping on your toes. It is not.
Not at all. I'm used
not
to
that
it
I'm
by
trying to. I just can't hear when you finish a sentence because the audio cuts
Guys,
out.
I hate to remind you, but we're live right now. Yes, live.
I know that.
Hmm.
Anyway, so two things. One is I like the state of mobile gaming where Shaline leads off with, "It might not suck,"
Yeah.
and like that's a good thing because usually they're just terrible.
I think
This-
that's one of the things that makes the show as good as it is that Shaline has a real good way with words, I think.
I just, guys, mobile is the place where all the garbage gets thrown out, and you're very lucky to find a gem. So
Yes. And I will say exponentially games have been getting better because if you think of the popularity of Candy Crush and how just awful that game is.
actually, I would argue with you there. Candy Crush is a pretty solid game.
But I'm saying if you get to like level 500, it's kind of like how many times can we do the same thing in a different combination?
Candy Crush was good when it was Bejeweled, and it's still good when it's Candy Crush.
This is just I'm making a point. I'm saying with the popularity of that game, and then you have what was it? I think Fallout Shelter was even more popular than Candy Crush.
I don't think so. No.
Did it make more? Well, anyway, I'm just
Very
saying they're getting.
popular, made a lot of money.
I'm just
Now-
saying they're getting exponentially better because that Fallout Shelter was like insanely better in variety and stuff than Candy Crush. So just the next game is going to be even better than that. Is all I'm trying to say.
Now, here's a question Arkle has in the chat. Will there be microtransactions?
Probably.
Almost
It's a mobile
certainly.
game.
Free to play does not mean free.
It's free to play for the first half an hour.
Game of Thrones is too big to let you just play it for free.
Yo, you paid for the loading screen, man.
Gosh.
So they're 50 cents per level. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I haven't even seen the show, so I will have no interest in this.
You know what? You know what is free, guys?
What
Video
is
Show?
video games on Gamestack Podcast when we give them away. And we're doing another giveaway. Surprise! So earlier today on Twitter, we sent out a tweet to all of our lovely listeners, just letting them know that we were going to be doing another Gamestack giveaway. And these things pop up at random. You can't expect them. You don't know when they happen. And if you haven't entered, if you missed the tweet, unfortunately, it's too late for you. But there will always be another time, is what I'm saying. So I would also like to point out that if you did catch the tweet, awesome. Thanks for entering into the contest. If you are on our Discord, you have automatically been entered into the giveaway. And so I want to point out that if you want to get access to our Discord, all you need to do is send us a personal message on Twitter, and we will make sure that you can get access to that. So those are just some of the perks of being part of the Discord community. We actually have already drawn names before the show began because we've got a busy night tonight and we don't have much time to set things up. But we were originally giving away a copy of Toy Odyssey. Have you guys ever played Toy Odyssey?
Nope.
No, but even when we set things up, they just fall apart.
I know. Toy Odyssey is a fundamentally action adventure platformer. The player spends the night exploring a randomly generated house, defeating bosses in each of the unique rooms, and then going up against the final boss. And you're literally the size of a toy, so you're very, very small. The developer and publisher of this game is Hiker Games. It's selling for about $17 right now on Twitch, and it released on September 20th of 2016, and it has overwhelmingly positive reviews. The winner of Toy Odyssey for this Gamestack giveaway is Ray.
Yay!
So congratulations, Ray. We will connect with you after the show. But it doesn't just end there. I know that you thought we were only giving away one game. But for those of you who may feel a little bit left out and wanting to win something, we are giving away a copy of Spectrum, which is a platformer set in an abstract world of stylized shapes and bright colors. You can escape from 80 levels spread in 8 mysterious environments. It looks like a lot of fun. It's kind of a puzzle sort of game. Developer and publisher is 3D Avenue. And that also came out in September of 2016. And the winner of that game is Alexandra.
Yay!
So we will connect with you after the show.
Congrats.
AKA Brock.
Brock.
Rock.
Brock.
Not the trainer.
Yes, maybe she is also the trainer. We don't know.
Technically, she's
Moonlight.
training a wee one right now.
She
Mm.
is. Yes, Tiny Rock.
Alex in training.
So cute. So cute. Love that kid.
I know she. Oh, we haven't seen much baby pictures lately.
You're right. Where are the baby pictures?
Mm-hmm. Alex,
The
Alex, if you're listening, we want more baby pictures.
We demand baby pictures. If you would like to receive your free copy
Yeah,
of Spectrum,
we
you
will.
can unlock that microtransaction for one baby picture.
Precisely. Moving along.
They're just send us stock photos from like a Target like frame section.
Oh, that's
Who wants
good.
to go first? Who wants to go first with the gameplay?
Rick,
I will.
Rick, why don't you?
So I've been playing, weirdly enough, The Division. See, Shaline was like, I think I should play more Division. So I devised a plan to download The Division and play it some more. So I did, started a new character. Go figure. Turns out it's the same as when I left it. It's just okay. There's a lag to it that's just enjoyable. Like you shoot someone 50 times, stop shooting, and then they drop dead. So that's a little jarring sometimes.
So are you playing like the PvE or the PvP?
No, I'm not playing the PvP because I mean at this point, like I'll walk in there with my little pea shooter, and then some guy will just kill me with something from far away, as they usually go. So it's just it is. What I'm gonna say is The Division is fun because it's one of those games that like if you're looking for something mindless, because you can just kind of drop in and drop out of it, and you do missions and encounters that do feel like you're helping a little bit, like you rescue hostages and stuff like that, and it was fun. It's fun. It's actually more fun than Ghost Recon Wildlands, although I wish the realism of one shot, one kill was in The Division, and you could play. I wish that kind of concept was in The Division rather than an RPG element where enemies have health bars and it's more, RPG based. I like the way the mechanics feel in The Division a bit better, minus that weird lag thing where somebody's shooting at me, then I'll get behind cover and I'm still getting shot because of when I was up. It's just weird. So playing that a little bit, played a lot of Ark last week, getting some dragons and getting into mischief.
I hear you there.
Our horse adventure.
I have it. I have pictures.
Oh, good. So yeah, I won't get into it too much because it sounds like you're going to go into a bit more. But essentially, we took 3 horses on a grand adventure, and it was basically it was a lot of fun, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So
Yes,
playing Ark and The Division when I get some time. I've been trying to get into Witcher 3. I feel like it's a game I should like. But it's the same thing with Witcher 2. For some reason, there's just some sort of like proverbial wall between me and the game that I just can't get through into finding out what that game is about.
So I have a question for you. So how does it compare to the other 2?
Well, I only played Witcher 2.
Okay.
And I played about a half an hour of it. Because again, I played it for a while and I was like, oh, this could be fun. And then
So it perhaps seems like a game that you just doesn't really fit your style.
It doesn't connect with me.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
If you need a lore Sherpa,
no, it's
I
not
will
even that.
volunteer my services.
It's not even that. It's just like maybe I just don't play it enough to get used to the mechanics of like the healing and the combat and stuff like that. So it just, I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me, and it's kind of...
Arkle in the chat says Rick and Vendor made a Mel Brooks movie in Ark, apparently. Yeah.
That's pretty much every time you guys play Ark.
Pretty much.
It
Yeah.
is a lot of fun. I actually died. Anyway. So that's basically what I've been playing. Division, trying to get back into speed with that thing. Because Shaline, you said you want to play it. I'm looking forward to playing it with you at some point.
Yes, me too. I have it installed finally. The other day, my internet was my enemy.
When is it your friend?
It said it was
Yes, that's a good point.
I was so happy. Like 3 hours to install. Okay. 3 hours later, I come back and it's like 4.5 hours to install.
Oh gosh.
Really? Really?
Well, there it is.
Yeah. So, Shaline, what have you been playing?
Well, I've played not as many things as I would like to play, but I have a couple of cool games to talk about. The first one was actually something that you played as well, Tales of Escape. And this was a really cool free escape room game, free on Steam. It was suggested by Moose Team 4's. Is he basically the team captain?
He is the lead knuckle.
Team captain of Moose Team 4, the Chili Moose. You can follow him on Twitch. He's streaming now. And we had a pretty great time with this escape room game, trying to escape in an abandoned mine shaft with some kind of spooky ghost yeti thing that wanted to eat us, probably. And it was a cool game. It had puzzles. There were lots of finding codes, that kind of thing, to unlock boxes. Adventure game style finding of tools and objects to use with other objects. And there was some trolling from our favorite troll over there, Rick McVick. Yeah.
Trolley McTrollface.
Tell you this story, okay, guys? So we're in this little room,
It's my best
there's this painting in the room, right? And when you click on the painting, it does a scary scream. It makes a scary face, and it's like, it makes the scary, scary scream. And it really bothered me. And I was like, guys, can you please quit clicking on this painting? It's bothering me. They're like, yeah, fine, So like 40 minutes later, we realize we need a screwdriver, and we left the screwdriver in the other room. So I'm like, okay, guys, I'm going to go get that screwdriver. So I walk into the painting room to get the screwdriver. I'm over there getting the screwdriver, and I hear the painting scream, and everyone else, I thought, was back at the other side. And I freaked out. I was like, guys, the painting by itself, guys, I'm scared.
Oh no.
And I turn and I see Rick's little character hiding behind the doorway, just laughing his butt off. I was so mad. I was so mad. You're lucky that game didn't have like guns.
Guns.
It was the Ghost of Mr. Chicken Shears thing.
I was so bummed.
Rick usually doesn't die in video games. He just gets killed by his teammates.
No, by Shaline.
I do regret not being able to play that with you guys for the first time.
I think that we should stream it the next time that we do.
Yes.
I think that would be a great time.
We still have to do the Fallout 4 Survival multi-stream. I'm still very excited to do that. See which one of us can survive the longest. My guess is it's going to be Shaline.
Mm-hmm.
We should also do our PUBG No Guns challenge.
That would also be fun.
There's too much to do.
I know. Just add it to the list, Rick.
It's going to be great.
Add it to the stack, vendor.
Stack.
Tales
That's
of
what I said.
Escape has a VR mode, which is probably terrifying because it's kind of spooky, even just in normal, not VR mode. And it's a really fun game. Teamwork situations and prank situations abound. It's definitely...
No, so in the game, your characters don't have arms. So when you pick things up, it literally hovers in front of you.
Right.
And I love the way that you just when you're done looking at something, you just drop it. So you're like clunk, and it's like done. I don't know. It's just I love.
It's funny. You're like a red torso with a head. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's like a crash dummy with no arms, basically.
But Rick, I forgot to tell you, the arms go on the skeleton.
Yeah.
It clips right on.
I put the arm literally inside the skeleton, and it didn't do anything. So I don't know how to get it to click
You clip it into the shoulder. The arm bone connects to the shoulder bone.
Yeah. The shoulder bone's connected to my wristwatch.
Indeed. So,
Dumb.
but it's one of those games that's less about the story the game is telling you and more about the stories that you create with your friends. And I'm all about it. A lot of fun. So recommend.
Boo.
I also played Fee. Fee is adorable. F-E, how it's spelled, I believe.
Is that
Iron.
the atomic symbol for iron? Yes, I was just going to say. Yeah.
Yes, guys. Thanks.
Maybe it's called Iron.
It is called Fee, and it is an EA original. I think it's the first one of those EA originals. And basically what that means is EA provides support, consulting, marketing but the dev team keeps all or most of the profit. So it's sort of an outreach program.
Sounds about right.
So I've been awaiting Fee for a couple of years now since its E3 reveal. It is a beautiful, charming-looking platformer right up my alley. And you play as this little fox creature. It is the first. I started playing this game.
Oh. Wow. Joseph Tao in the chat says fee means fairy in Swedish.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Its sequel is ow. No. And the Canadian version is ka.
Oh, guys. Telling a story here.
Sorry.
So I started playing Fee, and it's got this lovely, calming color palette, and have this cute little fox. And the first and only written objective to appear on the screen was sing gently with animals.
Oh no.
And I was like, yes, I'm all about it. This is gonna be the best. And it was not the best. It was not the best.
Really?
It was a slow start. Yeah, I did get into it. There is a lot to love about the game. It is beautiful. There is a lot to love about it. But I was surprised at how well it reviewed. I did a Google before the show, and I saw a lot of 8s, 9, 9.5 out of 10, and I was really surprised because for me the game was more of a 6. It's a platformer, but the platforming is not good. It's far from being the best part of the game.
But the artwork is so nice.
It is very nice. The artwork is probably the best part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
The artwork is fantastic. There's this singing mechanic that the game is sort of built around where you learn different animal languages and you sing with animals. And it functions a little strangely. It's a better idea than it is in practice. And you often have to depend on little AI creatures for help traversing the environment. And some of these little creatures, while adorable, are dumb as rocks.
Okay.
I remember one instance specifically where you have to carry this adorable little lizard to a specific leaf so that he can sing a little song to a flower on the leaf and you can progress. But I had a pile of like 4 lizards on this leaf, you guys.
And they were not singing.
Before I finally got one of them to help me. And the rest of them were just sort of like swaying back and forth like little...
You're like, come on, use those vocal cords.
Yes, it was so funny. The lizards are super cute though, so I had a hard time even being mad at them. There's this stealth mechanic in the game. You can't fight. There is no combat, but there are enemies. So you have to hide from the enemies. You can hide in tall grass. And the lizards, they will hide and just bury their bodies and their little tail sticks out of the ground.
Cute.
It is so cute, guys. It is a pretty short game. It took me maybe 5 hours. And if that's what it took in Shaline hours, for a normal gamer, that they may be looking at 3 hours for this. It is $20.
Well, you spent 1 hour trying to get those lizards.
Carrying lizards, I know.
Sing! You're supposed to sing pleasantly. Sing!
It's a very pleasant environment to be in, though. There is a story that they build without a single bit of dialogue, and it was a good story, and it surprised me several times. There are some really great moments, but the set piece happens in the first hour and a half, which I thought was pretty strange. Why wouldn't you save something that magnificent for closer to the end? My verdict is to buy Fee, but wait till it's on sale. I enjoyed Fee, but it's not. I don't recommend it like unequivocally.
Right.
Like you did Hellblade.
Exactly.
So my whole problem with this is, the first objective, sing pleasantly to
gently with animals.
Yeah. Have they ever heard a fox scream in their lives? It is not the first time I heard a fox yell, I thought a 5-year-old girl needed help. Like they sound absolutely ridiculous. So I could only imagine like, I'm going to sing you a pleasant song. And then it just lets out its obsessive, just awful screech.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, I've been playing some Ark as well, as you guys all know. Um, and I have a lovely slideshow of all of my Ark experiences in the last 2 weeks.
Fantastic! I can't wait.
And
oh
it
my
it
goodness!
all
Look
s-
at
well, okay, I have to say that this is a stock Ark photo. I had nothing to do
Oh,
with
that.
this.
Oh, I'm disappointed.
I no, well,
I
yeah,
quit.
but this is where it starts. It starts with Valentine's Day. So as you guys know, Valentine's Day just passed February 14th, and Ark does some events every year. They do Valentine's Day, they do Easter, they do Halloween, Thanksgiving, and I think the holidays, the Christmas holidays as well. And it's awesome. This time around, the Valentine's event was that there was all kinds of taming perks and breeding perks. You had all these efficiencies when it came to breeding animals, of course, as you do on Valentine's Day. But there was also pink dinos, red dinos, white dinos. And so we got to taming, and I blame this whole experience entirely on the Chili Moose and 4 Mile Farm, who are in the chat right now. But just to begin, this is our collection.
It's magnificent.
This
Look at
is our complete collection of Valentine's dinos.
I love it. Oh, I just love it.
And to be perfectly honest, I didn't even count how many there are, but there's a ridiculous number of dinos.
I'd just like to describe this a bit for our audio listeners. This is sort of a like bleachers, like stone bleachers full of pink and red dinosaurs. There are probably at least 25 dinosaurs there.
At least. And there's one white dino, because the white ones were the hardest to find.
Ah.
And yeah, so that's our what? Oh, Rick's got That's terrible.
It's a Barry White moment.
You're
man.
you're bad, and you should feel bad.
I had to stop before we got any copyright.
Yeah, copyright. Which, by the way, Twitch has really cracked down on that.
That
Anyways,
wasn't Barry White.
so back to the story. So we did all this crazy taming, and there's a ridiculous number of dinos. My favorite is the frog. He's adorable. The frog is bright pink. He's on the bottom right next to the bird. And he jumps like crazy, and you can actually lick your enemies, and it puts them to sleep.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the frog. This is one of the birds that I caught, all pink and derpy. Very cute.
Yeah, all the animals are derpy in this game. Their
I know.
eyes at least.
When you look at them straight on, they're very derpy.
Yeah, like
Yeah. And Rick's favorite.
Oh, this guy is so precious.
stupid piece of junk.
I just love him.
So this is Love Tank, and the Chili Moose tamed this one, and
Yeah.
they're basically a giant elephant.
Yeah.
And we tamed it over at Rick's base, but we left it there because there was no way to get it back. We couldn't fit it on any of our boats. You can't pick it up with a large bird or anything like that. And so we just kind of left it there. And then Rick kind of, came into the game, and he's like, "What is this thing on my front lawn?"
Again. No, it turned out to be an okay time. I mean, I helped escort it back, so.
Anyways, so here he is photobombing. Which is
so grumpy.
Oh, man,
it's just like,
wonderful.
I see you with that camera. So yeah, so that's that. And I figured out how to get art into the game, which was like the highlight. The highlight. I was so excited. I got Shalene's picture in there with her beautiful mane of hair.
Oh,
And
goodness.
eyebrows.
My art character was out of control with those eyebrows.
Ah, just love it. And the Gamestack logo, of course, which is awesome. So,
It's on the mantelpiece, right?
and that's not even a mod, actually. That is just software
Oh,
and
really?
manipulating game files. So,
Cool.
So you're modding it.
You're doing your own
well,
mod.
yes, but it's not a mod that's designed, like, you don't have to install it or anything. So,
I'm not cheating. I'm just entering codes.
anyways, then we started breeding dragons. because we were finally strong enough in our tribe to go and get dragon eggs. So we got a dragon egg, and I had every intention just to breed one dragon. One. And so this is my egg. This is us. And it's a dragon egg, right? You got to put it around fire. So we had to put it all around like 14 campfires. It was ridiculous. I had to take all my clothes off because I was sweating like a banshee.
As you do.
Yeah, that's the excuse you gave.
Yeah. But then he hatched and he was adorable. And so that's 4 Mile and I with his the
Is
the
that
little
my hat?
That is your hat. Stole it from your body. Yeah. Yeah, so little backstory. So Shaline did play Ark with us at one point, and we decided to move main base when she was no longer playing, but we didn't want her body to just disappear. So we thought, okay, well, we'll just drag her onto the boat and we'll bring her down to the new base with us. Well, she fell off the boat like Weekend at Bernie's into the ocean, and she was chewed to pieces by sharks. We went back for her, and she wasn't even there. Yeah, literally. And the funniest part is I said to 4 Mile as we were moving everything, she says to me, well, what are we going to do with Shaline? And I said, well, let's just put her on the boat. And she's like, well, you better take all of her stuff off of her in case she falls off the boat. Of course, she fell off the boat. Anyways, so, yeah. So I have your hat on there.
I just see, like, Shaline's dead come across the top of the Oh, man. What did you guys do? Like,
yeah.
He fell off the boat.
Yeah. So now he's getting bigger.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And he got we had to move him outside because he couldn't fit in the house anymore. And finally, this is him as an adult. His name is Mushu.
Nice.
And but they didn't just stop there. They breeded like 10 other dragons. And now we have all these dragons everywhere. There's dragons all over the place.
Yep, even I have a dragon now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so that was one of the other fun aspects of my gameplay. The last portion of our gameplay was probably the funnest. Was our Ark adventure, our Arkcation, I would say. And so we all met at main base because that's the way we kind of designed our tribe. Everybody has their own base, but then we have main base, and that's where, you know, it's the coffee shop of friends, so to speak. And so we decided that we were going to get up really early and get out on the water and start our journey. So this is just a shot that I took of the sun shining in. And this is Rick and I on our raft. We have motorboats now, so they move way faster, which is like such a game changer, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and 4 Mile was kind enough to lend us some horses. So we had one horse each, and we loaded our horses up, and away we went. The central perk of Ark, exactly.
Oh, that's the shot I took.
Yeah, these are some of your pictures. Yeah,
that was my horse Bullseye.
Yeah, Bullseye. And then we found Rick's original shack on the other side of the map.
I died so many times on that beach.
Yeah.
It's cold. Dead.
So that was a highlight. We found Rick's shack. And then we moved on into the snow biome, and we decided to set up camp, which was pretty cool because one of us always had to keep watch because there was like bears and like crazy giant ants chasing us. And yeah, and it was cold, of course, so we had to keep a fire burning.
We went through a lot of ammo that night.
Yes. Then we moved our way across the mountains through the snow biome, and we met up with the desert. Dun, dun, dun. And the desert was probably the hardest part of our journey, hey? So this is a picture of me heading down the mountain into the desert. And we survived the night. And so we thought we'd take a victory shot of the three of us on our horses overlooking the sunrise. We didn't survive the night, did we?
No, we didn't. Well, two of us didn't. I died. You didn't die. Or did you die? No, you died.
I died. Yeah.
We took a swim in the oasis before this shot.
Vultures.
Yeah, vultures got you.
Yeah. Yeah, so for our audio listeners, it's just three of us on horses. We're at the top of a sand dune. and we're overlooking the desert as the sun rises. It's really quite a nice shot
There's the lost city in the far side.
in the
there.
background. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then we got back home. We decided to go for a nice cool dip. So I got a picture of 4 Mile swimming through the water.
Are you skipping the entire end of what happened to our party?
I have no idea what happened. Nothing happened. I feel like you should tell Shaline what happened.
What happened?
About 5 microraptors in a Carno.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's
Microraptors daze you off your horse, and you can't move
Wow.
or do anything. And so that happened. And then, weirdly enough, we all kind of ended up at our individual bases. It was weird. It was like we all died or something.
Yeah, that was really strange,
Sure
wasn't
that's
it?
not what happened, but it was almost like that was what happened.
It was almost like we got separated, and one of us got knocked off the horse. And it was almost like I tried, valiantly saving that person, and it's almost like I got knocked off my horse, and it's almost like Vendor tried to valiantly save me, and it was like he died too, and it was like we just ended up at our bases. I mean, it was something like that. It wasn't really like that, but either way, it ended up at I'm back at my base now with the new horse.
Wow.
It's almost like Bullseye didn't make it.
And we literally had the famous last words of, "Wow, I can't believe we made it through this whole journey without losing any of our dinos."
And then
Who cursed it? Oh,
And then, yeah.
it was so bad. I bonded with Bullseye. He had so much stamina.
And it wasn't just like, it was the journey, right? It's not
Yeah.
about the destination. It's the journey that matters.
We were on our way home too. We were on our way back to the boats to go back to our bases,
But I think the best experience for me was that, because it just goes to show you that it doesn't matter what level you are in Ark. The game will always win.
level
Always.
5 microraptors. Level 5 microraptors. They just daisy, man. You can't do anything.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love the stories. I really do. I love the stories and screenshots. Thanks for sharing them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to rush, but we do have a rather long salty segment we still have to get to.
Oh, I will blow through this, you guys. Don't you
will
worry
you?
about me.
It looks huge on the show notes.
It's 4 pages long. Gamestack challenge, guys. We didn't have any takers for this Fortnite's challenge of the PUBG or Fortnite Battle Royale pacifist run. So next week, post screenshots of some of your favorite video game foods. How can they post those screenshots, Rick?
Well, they can certainly do it with the hashtag of Vendor.
Gamestack challenge.
Thank you. I had one job.
Mm-hmm.
You still have one job.
Yeah, you could do that on our Facebook page. Is it both our Facebook pages?
It's just on Twitter, actually.
I thought we were doing it on Facebook.
We prefer not to do it on Facebook because posts on Facebook get buried.
Yeah,
So-
they really do.
Alternative to posting it on Twitter is to email it to us. Where can they email it to us?
I don't even.
Info at We Just Love Games. Email that to us at info at We Just Love Games.
forgot we set that up.
Vendortron, you have a salty segment. Speaking of flavorful video game foods, you have a salty segment coming up.
Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Today on Salty Segment, we are talking about, do video games really... Are video games really what we use to blame for shootings? Now, I know that this is this topic really comes timely, and I want to be clear here that all of us here on We Just Love Games don't actually condone any sort of violence in the real world. But when it comes to video games, it seems pretty self-explanatory that video games are violent at times and could conceivably be considered as an influential factor in mass shootings, possibly. In recent news, we've all heard the unfortunate events that occurred in Florida this past week. And in times like these, I think policymakers and leaders really try to make sense of this in an effort to bring order to chaos. Hear me out. Make sense of things. They try. I'm not saying they're doing a good job. If you search video games and shootings on Google, you'll undoubtedly get a plethora of news and media raging war against video games as the one influential factor in these tragedies that are repeating themselves. Now, I'm not here to refute gun laws. Let me be very clear on this. I am here to point out that maybe video games are not the key to the gun cabinet. And while video games can be rather volatile, when it comes to violence, I will start my argument first by saying that we are humans, each in our own moral compass. And like any other immoral act, there is a factor or set of factors that lead to certain events. So to solidify my argument, I want to tell you a little bit about causality. Some of you may be familiar with it, but there is a theory about causality that was developed by Dr. Kenneth Rothman, who is a professor in epidemiology at Boston University School of Public Health. And he developed a theory about causality with respect to disease, but within this context, we're going to talk about it as an event. And I really challenge all of you to think about his theory of causality and build yourself a pie. Pecan pie is my favorite type of pie, so I choose pecan. Each piece of pie is a component cause, and all of these pieces of the pie, when put together, make up a pie, and eventually an event occurs. It is this concept that I want you to retain in the forefront of your mind as we move through this together. Now, suppose that we're talking about video games and mass shootings. Let's build a pie together. So there might be domestic violence, mental illness, poverty, abuse, alcoholism, video games, and guns. So we build this pie, and the shooting happens, that is. In order for the shooting to actually happen, all the pieces of the pie must have been together. Now, I would argue that we could build another pie, one without video games, and we might still have a shooting occur. But I would also like to point out that in order for shootings to occur in the first place, a gun has to be in every pie that we create. Food for thought. The point that I'm trying to make here is that these shootings are part of a complex adaptive system of circumstances, and that video games are just one piece of the pie. And for people to make claims about video games causing mass shootings, it's really just irresponsible and delusional. So, the second argument that I make is that we unequivocally accept the theories that A, in and of itself, causes B, and we act upon that as a society, and I don't think that that's right. We are setting ourselves up for failure. Let's look at some of the literature. With the Virginia Tech shooting, lawyer Jack Thompson, who I will remind all of you is now disbarred, and anti-game activist Dr. Phil appeared on social media and news outlets stating that violent games cause shootings, and investigators were surprised to find out that the young male school shooter had little to no exposure to violent video games. Interesting, right? Though the relationship between video games and shootings is not limited to media hotheads, several scholars have explicitly linked academic research on violent video games with shooting incidents. But despite this, these results have generally been very mixed, with some studies supporting a link between violent video games and minor acts of aggression, and others really finding no link at all. There is a gentleman that goes by the name of Dr. Christopher Ferguson. He is a behavioral scientist at the Criminal Justice Department at Texas A&M, and he decided to look at this very issue, and he published a paper in the Journal of Investigative Psychology and Offender Profiling in 2008 on the causal relationship between school shootings and video games. And he decided to do a comprehensive review of all of the scientific papers that came out using search terms such as school shoot and video games or computer games, as well as homicide and video games or computer games. And he actually turned up several articles on the subject, but he showed that there was no significant relationship between violent video game exposure and school shooting incidents. In fact, the reality is that the presence of violent video games in the industry have increased. The crime rate in the US has actually decreased in recent years, as reported through both police arrest data and crime victimization data. And this is also seen in other countries like Canada, UK, Australia, Europe. So going back to Rothman's causal pie, pecan pie, I can understand that children with existing problems in the presence of video games may be at risk. But this has yet to be shown scientifically. So to conclude, And then Shaline and Rick can offer up their interpretations and opinions on this. I will say that school shootings, although rare, are an important and relevant issue that requires serious consideration. Yet our understanding of this phenomenon remains limited. And in order to gain knowledge in this area, we really need to move past the moral compass, or the moral panic, sorry. And we need to move past conclusions like the idea that A leads directly to B and start taking a deeper look at the pieces of the pie. As we have talked about here, there is a wealth of evidence and social science of video gaming, government reports, legal cases, etc., but they all fail to establish a direct link between violent video games and violent crimes. Not only has this not been proven, but the existing body of literature actually argues against it. Now, I offer up no opinion here on gun laws on this show. Being Canadian, I think you all know how I feel about that anyway. But the facts that video games cause shootings remain unsubstantial. And there is no doubt in my mind that the US government is going to continue with a band-aid approach on this issue because, quite frankly, I think that they don't know how to put the cat back into the bag without declaring martial law. Perhaps if they had banned video games, they could have prevented World War I, or maybe even the Crusades. And if video games were as effective in producing gun violence, I would be an expert at surviving the apocalypse, and I can assure you all that I most certainly am not. So I think with that, that I've said my piece. I will hand the mic over to Shaline and Rick to offer up their comments, and I open the floor to anybody in the chat who has comments on this as well. What do you guys think? Silence.
No, I said Shaline.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
I was muted.
I've got nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, do you think that video games are a component to the ease of which one can commit
an act of violence?
Mass acts of violence?
Nope.
Okay, so I think we're all three in agreement because I too would like to offer up that Hitler did not have Unreal Tournament at his disposal.
Maybe if he did, he would have spent time doing that instead of making.
I can kill the computer people. So the thing that I like, I work at a shop. Most of them are gentlemen who didn't necessarily grow up with video games. They might have been 80s guys, but they didn't have video games, and they all seem to think that, you know, video games have a direct link. And it's funny because I try not to get into it too much because there's just not changing anyone's mind there. And it's not that they're bad people. It's just they're kind of set in their mentality. They say the only thing that's changed since we were kids is video games. And I giggle because I'm like, yeah, the instant access of media and Twitter you had as a kid too, right? Mm-hmm. And I honestly think media is a bigger component to mass acts of violence than video games are. But it all goes back to, do you remember the times when we thought when women could do math and we killed them because they were witches? We didn't have games then. I mean, we had games, but it was like chess or the Holocaust. There were no video games then. There were no video games during the Crusades, like you pointed out. Like throughout history, it's been incredibly violent. Drawing and quartering people as a punishment was solely drummed up out of the human psyche for justice. So, like, it's not games. It's not games. And so, and I like your point too. It's like, you know, in order to have a car accident, you have to have a car. So in order to have a shooting, you have to have something to shoot projectiles with. You like, regardless of if it's a firearm or a crossbow, an air rifle, or whatever, it's got to have something that fires a projectile. So video games do not cause violence. If that were the case, you could relate every person who's committed an act of mass murder drank water, therefore it's the water.
That's right.
It's the same concept. Call of Duty World War II sold $30 million or whatever. Like that's like 500,000 copies or something or more. So if you just generalize the statistics, they're gonna have a video game system. So it's easy to draw a conclusion.
Yeah, so this is a very relevant topic, right? And this is why I chose it for today's Salty segment. You guys are going to see a lot of this kind of stuff in the news in the coming weeks. We're already seeing a lot of this. Trump is speaking out against video games on this matter, and I think that it was just a very important thing that we really needed to talk about, given that we are gaming a podcast. But when we think about causality, it really is just that. Anything or anyone is capable of anything under the right circumstances. And I'm not necessarily saying that video games need to be a piece of the pie. But that's the thing is that there's no evidence to suggest that. And until there is, I don't think that we can make any claims against it. So
I think if you could point one game at the game that would make someone commit a mass act of violence, it would have been Call of Duty Modern Warfare. There was a whole level in that where all you did was
intuitively you would think that. But what if the data showed that Stardew Valley had a higher correlation than Call of Duty?
I would imagine
would you still say that Call of Duty, right? This is what I'm saying. So
I was saying a joke because there was in Call of Duty 4 there's a whole level where all you did was walk through an airport and just kill every civilian there. I was making a joke. Like that would have been the one. Or like Grand Theft Auto, but there's no link there. So.
And I would even go as far as to say that that poverty is even a questionable role in this, because I believe the Florida shooter had a very large inheritance. So he was rather wealthy. Look at the Vegas shooter. He didn't even play video games. He was a 60-year-old man. Not to say that 60-year-old men shouldn't be playing video games or that they don't, but I'm like, there's no link, and people are making links where there are none. So my take-home message for this and for everybody listening is to, be careful what you read, and always be a skeptic. Always critique and ask questions about what you're hearing, because the media is very powerful and they have a very large influence over our society, and I think a lot of us don't really realize that.
And follow source links. Always follow source links on articles online. Like and yeah, so yeah, Ishibu was right. Having a gun is the biggest link to gun violence. Usually that's the case.
Well, and I wanted to, and I just kind of learned this in school right now, is this pie theory, and that you have to have that one piece of pie that is the gun in every single pie that creates the problem. That is a necessary component, right? So
in this particular case, yes. And we are not, again, let's reiterate, we are not talking about guns or gun laws. We are solely talking about the link between violence or
video games.
The theoretical link between violence and video games. Because honestly, I think the three of us can speak to this. We have seen the positive side to video games, which, the myriad of emails, Shaline, that we had during our podcast that shall not be named days, of people who were like, I didn't have anyone in my life, and this game brought me to a community of people. Or, I was self-destructive, and I met someone through this game, and it helped me heal. Like, how many freaking emails did we get like that? I mean, it was insane. And, like, all it was positivity, community. I mean, there wouldn't be things like, look how generous the gaming community is. Like, it's silly to think that...
I would argue that, there might be the possibility that there is an association, but it still has to be proven. We don't know.
I guess.
But kids are vulnerable, right? They will mimic everything that they can. And so if you throw a young child into a very violent game, I would imagine that, there's going to be some behavioral problems, but that's where we'll leave it at.
Can I just one more thing? Can I just say just a little thing here? I worked at Target, right? And I remember there was at one point, I don't know if I've ever told this story before. I was at Target and this lady brought in this, like, I swear to you that he was like 8 or 10, somewhere around there. He barely could see over the desk counter of the game boat. So he he brought she lays Grand Theft Auto 4 on the
Wow.
counter. And so I flipped the game around and like an a-hole was like, ma'am, I'm just supposed to tell you legally that this game contains violence, nudity, blah, blah, blah. And I read the list off and said, and it's rated for people who are over 18. Do you still want to buy this game? And she said, yes, and bought it. So like, honestly, you know, Vendortron, like you said, putting a young kid into a violent game situation, like parents should know their kids well enough to understand whether or not that they can comprehend that sort of thing. You know,
I have a pretty similar GTA story.
yeah, like
Please share it with us.
I used to work with this guy named Rick, and he always came to me for advice about what games to get for his kid, and his kid was like 7 or 8, and he comes to me and asks me if he should get Grand Theft Auto 5 for his kid, and I tell him unequivocally, no, do not buy this game for your kid. You know, get him something else. You know, that's basically anything else, not this game. Well, about a month later, I'm working a shift with him, and he's telling me, so yeah, about that, you know, I was taking a nap, and my girl came in and woke me up and was like, hey, you know, you've got to get this, you've got to get my kid out of this game. And Rick is like, well, he's good, you know, he'll beat it. He'll keep trying. And she's like, no, that's not what I mean. And Rick gets up and goes, and the kid is getting a lap dance. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, you have to know your child, and I will. Maybe this is just me being curmudgeonly and semi-old, but I want to guess that a lot of times people who commit acts of violence like this, perhaps their parents weren't really that great, or they didn't have parents that, you know, kept them away from things. I mean, I don't know what happens if you throw a 3-year-old at GTA. I don't know what synapses are going to form or what logic they're going to get. The best choice is that they shouldn't be in GTA. I know my daughter very well, and she can handle certain games. There are certain games I don't let her watch. But there are, you test them out, you see what freaks them out, you see what's fine. Like, and my daughter understands reality from fiction. So, you know, it's convoluted, Vendor, and you're right. I don't know if games have been around long enough to produce any sort of long-term effect tests from this.
Well, and
it's like cell phones.
I just spent like an hour and a half in a meeting this past week talking about how there really isn't a one-size-fits-all when it comes to treating patients, and the same can be applied to any form of context. And same here, you know, it's a very complex adaptive system, like I was saying, and I think that what we really need to do is take a step back and look at the finer things. What's going on in the home, right? What are some of the patterns that we see in these kids? I would like to also point out that the Florida shooter, the school contacted the police department through 18 phone calls prior to the event, days prior to the event. And he previously tried to commit suicide. So, you know, these are like, can you work?
Yeah, I
mean,
know, this whole situation had a bunch of red flags, and I think we can end that. Yeah, the jury's still out on the video game thing, although it's very unlikely the video games are a cause of this.
So keep playing video games. They're great. They're great.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just
don't believe everything you read.
Yeah. So, moving on to positive things, I hope.
Listener emails.
So, listener emails, we've got a couple of them. The first one is from an anonymous anonymous listener. It came via a Twitter DM. Just one of you guys want to read it, or do you want me to take it?
Take it
Go
away,
ahead, we've
Shaline.
been rambling.
Okay. I just wanted to send you a big thank you for all that you do with your podcasts and game streams. After being thoroughly grossed out this weekend watching another stream, not just by the disgusting comments in the chat, but by the male streamer encouraging the discussion, it is hugely refreshing to visit the safe space that you have created in Followed OTR, Katie Radio, and Gamestack. As a female gamer, it's been hard to find a community that is both safe and awesomely entertaining. Please keep up the amazing work, and thanks again. I wrote back to this listener and just told them how much, their comments meant to us. And she replied, I certainly won't let the toxic folks keep me down at all. I was just blissfully enjoying a Twitch stream on Saturday when it suddenly became very apparent that I was surrounded by misogynistic dude bros. It was a rude awakening, like Indiana Jones suddenly discovering that he's in a pit of snakes kind of awakening. And I felt I really needed to speak up and to thank you for building a community where we can hang out without having to be constantly on guard. I'm typically pretty quiet by nature, but please know you've always got my support, my attention, and my participation whenever I can be there.
Fantastic.
And I would just like to say to this listener and anybody else who feels the same way, I'm really glad that you feel that way. We've worked really hard to be inclusive to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
We want the show to be a safe haven for all.
Yeah, we love you guys, and it's certainly a safe haven for us. So.
Yeah, it is my port in a storm at the end of the week.
My fallout shelter.
So, we've got another email. One of you guys want to take it, or do you want me to read it?
No, take it again, because me and Vendors spent so much time talking on
Just keep rolling on through, Shaline.
Hey, Rick, Shaline, and Vendortron. I want to start off by saying thank you for doing the podcast. You guys are awesome hosts and never fail to create exceptional content. I first found you guys a few months back after I graduated college and started working full-time. I started off just jamming out to tunes every day, but after a while, I needed something with more substance to help me get through some of the slower days. My brother recommended podcasts to me, so I started looking some up to see what I could find. To my delight, I found Fallout Off the Record. The particular episode that I listened to first featured Rick and Shaline going completely off the rails. I'm shocked. I mean, that must have been the only time that happened.
I don't ever remember it happening, ever.
I do.
Needless to say, I was hooked. After a few more episodes, it was obvious that I needed to start from the beginning to experience the entire phenomena that was Fallout OTR. As I listened to Fallout OTR over the next few months, I began to crave to play Fallout 4 again, as it had been a while since I had played it. The stories of Forrest Gump, Maisie the Cat, R.I.P., and Rick's numerous new character builds had me laughing so hard, my coworkers probably thought I was crazy. Shaline's Forrest Gump character inspired me to try my first ever all-melee build in Fallout, but instead of being Forrest, I made my character Obama, and he exclusively uses swords. Let me tell you, Barack can throw down.
Should we cue the photo?
Cue the photo. I love it. I just love it.
Aw.
It looks just like him.
Uncanny. I also decided to start a new survival character after hearing about Rick's crazy adventures in Far Harbor. Not only did you guys restore my love for Fallout, but you also got me into other things, like the We're Alive podcast, which, by the way, is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You guys made every day at work so much better, which is why as I grew closer and closer to that last episode of Fallout OTR, I started to worry about what happened to cause the end of the show. When I finally heard the now old news that Rick was leaving the show for an internship, I'm pretty sure that's what it was, haha. I was sad for the end of the show, but happy that he had something to look forward to after he left the show. After work that day, I was curious to see if his internship had worked out, and I found myself on his LinkedIn and saw that, what? Currently a co-host on a new podcast?
You put that in your LinkedIn?
Yeah,
That's
man.
awesome.
As I
Of
looked
course.
more into it, I found out just how awesome Gamestack was. Not only was it a podcast about all games, not just Fallout, but Shaline was back, and now Vendortron was more than just a voice in the chat room.
Yes.
Within a week, I had caught up to the current episode. It was everything that I had hoped for. You guys continued to tell great gaming stories and recommended amazing things to check out. Speaking of which, I ended up getting Hellblade after it almost beat PUBG for a few of the GameStack Game of the Year awards. And you guys were right yet again. It was a hell of a game. Okay, we can't all be as good at puns as you guys. Haha. But anyway,
that was
thank you
good.
guys again for taking the time to put together these amazing shows. I was lucky enough to make my first GameStack chat room last Friday. And now that I'm all caught up, I plan on being there as much as possible. Also, I know you guys probably get this all the time, but if you're looking for an extra squad mate, let me know, etc., etc. Finally, I have one thing to ask you guys. Since I'm all caught up with Fallout OTR and Gamestack, I've been looking for similar things to listen to while I'm at work. Is there anything that you guys could recommend? I'd be down to listen to some more of the content that you guys have created, or something that you just like and is worth a listen. Thanks from a true gamer and Gamestack fan. Best Nick, aka Mind1555. So guys,
He's
can
in
you
the chat
recommend
room.
a couple of podcasts to Nick?
Probably ones that you've already listened to. But I really like Nerdist podcast / now it's called ID10T. And that's very good. And the other ones I listen to are all audio engineering based. So
Yeah, probably not so much.
I'm sure Shaline will recommend LeVar Burton Reads. That is a great podcast where LeVar Burton literally has revived Reading Rainbow and reads you storybooks. So I recommend that one. I do also recommend Freakonomics Radio. Freakonomics is a fantastic podcast originally centered around economics, but they ask the craziest questions, like, why do we have lawns? And they go into the whole idea of having a lawn for the next hour. Fantastic. The last one on my list that I will recommend, or the last two, sorry, is one, and first and foremost, the Fallout Feed, which is our fellow podcast, and also Westvault Radio, who we love and is a fellow podcaster as well.
I've been on both of those podcasts.
Mm-hmm. And the last one on my list that I'll recommend is Unhappy Hour with Matt Belisai. He is a gay American bringing a podcast forward on living a gay life, and it's absolutely hilarious. Shaline, what have you got on your list? You look like you're scrolling there.
I am. I'm scrolling now. I listen to a ton of podcasts. So first off, if you missed Katie Radio, that's another show that we did that was really similar to this show. So there's an archive of that you can check out. I would also recommend a show called What's Good Games, which is an all-female podcast by some amazing ladies. They're very knowledgeable, very entertaining. It's a really good, very solid gaming podcast. Just scrolling through here, trying to see what else I want to recommend. There are some great podcasts out there. If you loved We're Alive, you might also like Our Fair City. Our Fair City is an audio drama, which is also sort of a comedy. It's just, you have to experience it to really, really get that one. So everybody should check out Our Fair City. And let's see, I'm sure I've got something else. There are so many good podcasts out there. Ear Hustle is a really cool podcast from Radiotopia. It is produced by the inmates of San Quentin about some different prison things.
Cool.
And that's a pretty cool podcast.
Car Talk.
Podcasting, bringing you coming live from Cell 34.
Yeah.
Aaron Book Club, I've been on that one too.
But yeah, Car Talk is another really good one. And actually, it's funny because when I'm at the station and I'll talk to some guys down there about podcasting, some of the engineers or talent, they're like, "Oh, I don't really listen to a lot of podcasts." And I was trying to, in order to explain to them how good Fallout did, I would say, "Do you know Car Talk?" And everyone in radio knows Car Talk because it's one of the most. It still is one of the most syndicated shows ever. They're like, yeah. I was like, yeah. There was at one point where we were right below them in the rankings for like 2 weeks.
Yes,
we just couldn't beat Click and Clack. You know?
That was the only thing separating us from number one. Did we ever hit number one?
Not on Games and Hobbies.
No, we hit number one in video games, which was
fun.
Guys,
it's funny because you see their face go, "Oh, okay," you know, because I know exactly what Car Talk is.
Funny.
Guys, are we still in the top 100?
I haven't looked in a while. I'll look now.
Because remember when we launched the show, we were in this crazy rank.
We don't release Gamestack often enough to stay in the top.
Correct.
Top rankings. We're not even in the top 200.
Oh.
Download numbers mean something in the algorithm, and we don't release it often enough. So, yeah, but
it's okay.
That's fine. It's fine. Yeah, we don't need that kind of validation. We know.
We're not going for that.
We know we're amazing.
We know we're amazing. We know you love us. So guys, did you have any other podcast recommendations or anything?
I got nothing else.
Anything you want to mention before we roll on out of here?
Well, I would like to mention, okay, so I have to apologize that I haven't really been around on social media and things like that because I'm navigating midterms that are coming up next week and then also finals and preparing for committee meetings and conferences and things like that. But I want to announce officially on the show tonight that as of the summer, I will be launching the early mornings with Vendor here on We Just Love Games. And so you can join us on Saturday mornings. Join me on Saturday mornings for an early morning podcast or stream, I should say.
Awesome.
Chili Moose has made me laugh in the chat. Number 200 on the list, but number 1 in our hearts.
Yes.
Fallout OTR is still sitting pretty at 142.
It is, I know. We haven't released an episode of that since like
You know what? That is
Follow.
now my new goal. I need to beat your old podcast.
We can't.
Yes, we
can't.
can.
We don't release them fast enough.
It's crazy.
There's no such thing as we can't.
It's Mexican, not Mexicant.
Exactly. It's Canada, not Cantada.
Love it. So guys, I have a couple of plugs. Red Dead Let's Plays will be hitting YouTube as soon as I can get my stuff together and get that edited. And I will be doing a stream someday to record some more. Also, check YouTube for a second Fallout Loot Crate unboxing. I plan to record that shortly. I have it right here. It's in all its glory. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh, you should just do it now.
I like to do the highly edited one, though.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. You guys can hang out, though, while I open the Loot Crate.
Absolutely.
You can email us like Nick did at info@wejustlovegames.com. Find us on Twitter at wejustlovegames. I am Shaline L, SHALINEL. Rick is Rick McVick. Vendortron is Vendortron N. We have Facebook. We're on facebook.com/wejustlovegames. Facebook.com/groups/wejustlovegames. We have a lovely, companionable, comfortable Discord server. We would love for you to join us there. It's basically the chat room experience extended throughout the week. Send us a personal message on one of the other platforms, and we will get you a Discord invite. Live recording is at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on twitch.tv/wejustlovegames. Make sure you turn on notifications so that you never miss a show. We're on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher Radio. Like, subscribe, and review on your platform of choice and on all the other platforms too. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
See you guys.
Have a good night.